So you have just decided to level up a character in the midst of Panda pre-patch, and now you're looking for different leveling strategies and tips and tricks. Well, look no further. In Cataclysm, you were required to have a certain item level before you could also perform an enchant. This is no longer the case in the pre-patch, and therefore you can use whatever enchant you would like. Just be aware that the effect will also be reduced if your character is low level. But I usually don't enchant any items beside my heirlooms. And therefore, if you don't have any heirloom items, well, then I would much rather like you to join a guild as quickly as possible and farm guild reputation by questing and doing dungeons. With your guild reputation, you will eventually unlock the possibility to purchase the Heirloom Helm and Cloak, which in total will grant you 15% additional experience. Before you start playing your fresh character, if you have gold and another character, you could also buy consumables to increase your leveling speed. For example, the swiftness potions to be running around a lot quicker until you unlock the amount. Swim speed potions for when you're in water environment where you will need to get around a bit quicker. And of course also invisibility potions for skipping difficult areas or well enemies you don't really want to deal with. Alright, so onto the leveling tips and tricks. In the beginning, so from level 1 to 5, I usually just run around and try to kill as many enemies as possible, sometimes without even focusing on quest. This is if I'm going to be a character that can kill those quickly, for example as a priest where you can dot up many targets at the same time, or if you're playing a character that pretty much one-shots everything. However, for those of you starting a Panda, that is the new race in Mr. Pandaria, you will also have to complete all the quests, else you won't be able to choose your faction and eventually leave the starting zone. For those of you not playing a Panda, well, do the starting area until you reach level 5 and then swap to the next questing hub, as those quests will grant you a lot more experience and you can stay here up to around level 10. I usually level from level 5 to 10 by questing, as I don't feel like killing enemies grants me enough experience, beside the rare creatures that you should always pay attention to. Therefore, I'm also using an add-on that will scan for these rare creatures so I'm not missing them, because the experience you get from a rare creature is close to the same amount as completing 2 to 4 quests. The amount of experience all depends on your own character's level, but also the creature you're killing. But it's granting you an insane amount of experience, and it allows you to quickly level up. What also allows you to quickly level up is an add-on, for example a leveling guide. The one I'm using myself, I will also leave in the description below the video with a redirect link to where you can download this. There's going to be a free version and a paid version that will work all the way up to max level, and this will also function when Mr. Pandaria launches, so you can quickly reach level 90. For more information, check out the description below this video. Your next milestone is to reach level 15, as this will unlock the possibility for you to level in dungeons. Yeah, by spamming dungeons. And if you're going to level up as a tank or a healer, you will also have pretty close to instant queues, so this is going to be an efficient way to level up. But because you got to level 15, you can also do something else, to head to the auction house and start looking for the Darkmoon fair quest items, as some of these requires you to be level 15 to start those quests, and they're granting you a decent amount of experience, so you could purchase these to quickly reach level 16 and 17. Just be aware that the Darkmoon fair also has to be active for you to hand in these quests and to get the experience. So open up your calendar to currently see if it's active or when it's going to be the next time. Remember, on the auction house there's also a tab called quest items, and here you can browse through many different things to instantly complete a quest. Or well, the moment you pick up the quest, you will also have everything you need to hand these in instantly. What I do next is just to quest. I always do this when I'm waiting for the next dungeon to begin. Like I mentioned, if you're not playing tank or healer, you will probably not have instant queues, so instead of standing AFK and waiting, then you should also be efficient and questing at the same time, else your leveling won't be efficient at all. There are so many different benefits by dungeon leveling. First off, there's not going to be any travel time going to a no zone to quest. You will get a lot of different items from the different bosses and creatures you're slaying in the dungeon, and on top of this, there's also going to be many quests in here that will grant you experience, and of course also guaranteed blue items. But remember, if you're playing a monk, Then at level 20 you will unlock your first quest that will also grant you a temporary buff that will increase your experience gained by 50%. This will be important to do, also because it's going to be a daily quest, and you will unlock a new one when you get to level 30, 40, 50, and so on. Alright, so as I continue to level up, I will be in classic content up to level 58, where I will then swap to Outland. For those of you leveling as a healer, don't be afraid to quest in the open world. In Mist of Pandaria, there will now be a huge buff, allowing a healer to also be doing decent damage, so you can also help DPSing when you're going to do a dungeon, and you won't have to respec when you're going to quest in the open world. When you get to Outland, I would highly recommend you to mainly focus on dungeon farming. However, questing are not bad experience, but if you're going to dungeon farm, then remember there will always be quests to pick up and also a lot of new upgrades. However, when you do random dungeons, there's also a chance you will get the same dungeon many times in a row, and sometimes it can actually be worth to sign for a specific dungeon. Yeah, you won't get the bonus at the end, but you're going to enter a dungeon you won't have done before, and therefore you'll also be able to do many new quests, which will grant you more experience compared to the bonus at the end. By the time you reach level 65, you would like to head to Nagrand and do the Ring of Blood. These quest chains grant you a lot of experience and a blue weapon at the end. You would like to quest in Outland until you reach level 68. By that time, you would then swap to the new zone Northrend. In Northrend, you're going to be rewarded with a lot better loot, but also a ton more experience compared to the quest in Outland. When you reach level 75, it's gonna be important to head to Soul Direct. Once again, there's also going to be many different arena quests and a blue weapon at the end. And this will easily grant you pretty close to half a level just by completing the whole chain. From now on, you should always pay attention to the Battle for Wintergrasp. Even though this is going to be PvP, then it will either help you as you're leveling up or when you reach max level. Why? Well, the Battle for Wintergrasp will grant you a lot of honor. But you will also need to pick up the different quests that grant you additional bonus experience and also honor. The reason for doing these things is because the honor you can use to purchase different PvP heirloom items. Even though these are mainly PvP items, then they will increase your experience gained, so if you don't already have heirloom items, then these are definitely a good thing to achieve. You can also convert your honor into justice points and that way purchase the PvE heirloom items, or simply keep these currencies for when you reach max level so you can gear up a bit quicker before the pre-patch is over. By the time you reach level 78, you should head to the auction house. There's going to be many bind and equip cataclysm items that has a way higher item level compared to your current items, and these allows you to also start soloing dungeons. Yeah, doing these dungeons on your own, and it's a quick way to get from 78 to 80 so you're ready to level in cataclysm content. When you reach level 80, yeah, then you don't really have to worry that much about completing the quest chains in Cataclysm, because you can still level up efficiently by dungeon farming. Also because the campaign ain't going to be that important, as you'll soon move into Mist of Pandaria anyway. But when you get to level 80, remember in the starting areas there's also going to be different NPCs where you can purchase some catch-up gear, if you haven't already purchased a lot of those on the auction house. If you still have leftover gold, then you can also head to the auction house where you can purchase level 80 consumables. These will help you. You can also get flask and even the potion of deep home later on, so you can teleport here and have your heartstone bound to another location. Like I mentioned, you can either quest in Cataclysm or dungeon farm, but another option is also just to continue farming Wrath of the Lich King dungeons if you have some proper gear. This you can do up to around level 82 and 83, and it's honestly super efficient. For those of you wondering when I will be questing in Cataclysm, then you can see the different zones and at what level right here. But in the beginning from 80 to 82, I would always prioritize going to Mount Hyjal, as here you can use your flying mount, where in Vashir you will be using a swimming mount, but this is not really that quick compared to leveling in Mount Hyjal. By the time you reach level 84, you would like to swap to Twilight Highlands, and here there's also going to be an arena quest chain, eventually giving you the possibility to get one of these weapons. You would then like to stay in this zone until you reach max level. When you reach max level, there's going to be many different preparations you can do before Mist of Pandaria, but also many ways you can gear up, and all of those things I've either covered on my channel or they will be released anytime soon. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get notified the next time I post a useful Mist of Pandaria guide. As always, thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day. Peace.